We played Penn State previously, and we won 104 to 74. I had 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 23 assists with 5 steals. I did have 4 turnovers. Shepard had 22, 8, and 2, and Hardaway had 22 and 10. Nothing really else. We got Liviu Kalamushi, his first points of the year. And for them, Walker didn't do too good. He's their star on the team. So we were able to beat them. And then we faced up against Shannon Montgomery, a center from Nebraska. And he did pretty good as well. He had 30 points, 19 rebounds, 7 steals, and 4 blocks. And also Middleton did pretty good. It ended up 113 to 105. Shepard led us in scoring with 24 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. 23 points for me, 8 rebounds, and another 20-plus assist game. 21 assists, 3 steals, and this time 7 blocks. But I also did have 10 turnovers. And Hardaway, even with Shannon Montgomery guarding him, he shot 8 for 19. Not too good, but he got 19 points still. Gibson actually got 12. And nothing really else too much in that game. Today we'll be facing against Illinois. So hopefully we can pull out a win in this game. Once again, we have Young in the starting lineup. Shepard and Hardaway have been doing good recently. Chioza has not been doing good recently. And pretty much Kalamushi doesn't really get too many minutes. Hobson got like 1 minute this season. I don't even know. Yeah, he got 1 minute. That's literally it. I don't really see too much except for the fact that their small forward and center are pretty good. They have a really good starting lineup, but their bench is really bad, so we'll have to see how this goes. We'll be facing against some interesting team. It's an interesting group, considering how they have an insane starting lineup, but I looked at their bench, and their bench does not do too good. I gave it to Shepard, who gets inside, and the pass was a little bit off. He's able to hit the shot to start the game. He's been averaging a good amount recently, and he's had multiple 20-point games recently. Same with Hardaway. Illinois ends up coming right back with a shot of their own. I go in the post and spin around my defender. I was able to get the layup to go. I'd be guarding Whale. I don't really know his first name, but he's pretty good. When I first looked, I thought Trevor Sullivan would be the star, but he's not even the main guy. They have CJ Perry, I think, who's like their center, and Whale, who I'm guarding, who's the small forward. I'm able to poke the ball loose, but they get it back. I hit a 3 previously, and that was surprising considering I don't shoot too well from 3. Hardaway helped with the contest, but it wasn't enough. They still got the basket to go. I gave it to Hardaway inside, but he gets it stripped away. I tried to get a block on Whale, but instead it's just good contest. I give it to Hardaway, who finds Young open for the 3. Whale would bring up the ball once again. It seems like he tends to bring up the ball, and I don't know about Sullivan. He doesn't seem to be that good. Sullivan drives in and draws the foul on Wallace. That'd actually be his first shot attempt of the game, but his stats seem to be pretty good. He's averaging almost a double-double. But I don't really see it in him, but maybe he'll show it a little bit more towards the end. I call for the ball and go in the post. I give it to Wallace and the shot clock's winding down. I give it to Hardaway, who is forced to take the shot at the last second. The shot ends up missing and Sullivan would bring it up, finding Brown. Shepard was able to contest, but that lets his guy rebound the ball. Now it would be a 1-point game, and we had previously had a 9-4 lead. The ball ends up getting stolen from Shepard, and I'm forced to get back to try and help. They try and get someone open, but we played some good fast break defense. Will tries to get something on me, but I'm pretty big and strong, so he doesn't really get anything by me. He's forced to take a really far shot, and he misses it, obviously, and it was an air ball. It's called shot clock violation before Shepard could get the ball. In the last 10 games, Munford has the most, and I'm second. Andrew Floyd is actually fourth in assists in the last 10 games, or days, I should say. The ball once again gets stolen, and Sullivan picks it up. I'm able to get back and get the block. I run on the other end and find Hardaway, who's open in. He's able to dunk it down, and that's a pretty good start, I guess. Not really, though, because we've given up quite a few. We've turned the ball over a lot, and we've been giving up a lot of open shots like that. Apparently, Trevor Sullivan had like about 30 points in a game against Penn State. I go in the post and spin around my defender as I got the mismatch off of the screen. Brown this time would bring it up and they would call a timeout. It would be a 3-point game, so it's not too far out of reach, and it's all they need is a 3-point shot to tie this game up. It's only the start, though, so it could change. Yes, Sullivan over the last 10 games has been shooting pretty good and scoring quite a bit. Now, the stats do count scrimmages for some reason, which I don't know, as Hardaway is able to block the pass and they're forced to inbound it once again. Sullivan sets screens to try and get Whale open, and they eventually do inbound it to Whale, as I was unable to get there in time, but I was there fast enough to help defend. I was there to help with Sullivan, and they call a foul. Once again, he'd be on the free throw line. That's where all of his points have been so far this game, and he hit all 4. So he has 4 points all from the free throw line. He's kind of taken over the game at the free throw line, which typically is not how games tend to go, but that's how it's been going so far. We've only missed 1 shot as a team, and it was Hardaway's shot, which wasn't his fault, as it was well contested, and he was trying to get the shot to go. Shepard gets the rebound, but lands out of bounds, so stays Illinois ball. They inbound it to Brown and give it over to Whale. Whale spins inside and gets the mid-range fading away. He is shooting 2 for 6 though, so he's not having the best shooting. I'm able to drive in on him and get the layup to go. I've scored 11 of our 17 points. As I've tried to get people open, but I've been forced to take it myself. Jennings would give it to Perry in the post, but Hardaway is not going to give up too easy as Lonnie Hardaway forces him out of bounds. Some good defense from him. He's not a small dude. He's pretty big as he gets subbed out. Assuming Shepard gets put in at center and I believe Grantham at power forward. Yeah, Grantham would be our power forward at the moment. I take another 3 and hit it once again. Brown would bring it up for Illinois. I'd be guarding Jennings, their power forward, so Grantham would be at the small forward. Poland would bring up the ball and give it to Wallace. I give it to Shepard on the other side and he gets fouled by Perry. He misses the first free throw and I get subbed out. I wouldn't be brought back in until about 3 minutes left. 3 minutes into the second quarter. I end up trying to pass it to Shepard, but it gets stolen. For some reason, we have Shepard at center and Hardaway at power forward. I try to give it to Hardaway inside, but instead it gets stolen by Jennings. On the other end, Brown is able to get an easy shot inside. And the bench for Illinois was unable to get anything going as we still have a pretty decent lead. We still have the lead. It's good enough. Once again, stolen by Jennings. And on the other end, Brown does the same thing, laying it up. I give it to Hardaway inside, and he gets it over Jennings. I decided since I can't get the pass to actually go through, might as well try and draw the defender's attention towards me so I can get the pass in. It still confuses me why Shepard is at the center and Hardaway is at power forward. Chioza gets a steal, but Sullivan gets it right back and puts it up. I set the screen for Chioza and he gives it to Wallace. I give it to Shepard and I just decide to go with the pick and roll, see if that can get anyone going. So I give it into Shepard. He misses the shot, but he gets his own board, misses again. Jennings was able to get the rebound for Illinois. And on the other end, Brown takes the floater. Well defended by Wallace, so he misses that. I give it to Shepard on the other end, and he draws the foul on Perry. He actually hits the free throw for the first one, and the second one he also hits, which surprised me. Usually goes 1 for 2 or just misses it. They try and pass the ball around quite a bit to try and get someone open. They give it to Jennings and not Jennings. They give it to Sullivan in the post, and Young gets the steal. I give it to Young and try and set a screen, but Hardaway's screen was the main one. I call out and draw double team and give it to Hardaway, who's in the corner, but he does a good job of driving in. He misses the shot though. I'm able to get back in time to guard Whale. They're forced to give it back out and slow down the pace a little bit. Brown gets the screen, but it doesn't really do too much. Sullivan's forced to put up a shot that's contested by Young and misses it. Shepard getting the rebound, and Young was on the other end, but I ended up losing the ball and ended up in his hands. They're doing a good job of double teaming and getting back to their defend. I drive in and get the shot off at the last second. I actually haven't missed a shot this whole game so far, which I doubt is going to stay for the rest of the game. Perry would set the screen and cut inside. Will would miss the shot and I'd get the rebound. I gave it to Hardaway inside and that'd be an easy shot. Whale, who I've been guarding, is 3 for 8 on the game, so not the best shooting. Sullivan immediately goes in the post, finding Perry. Perry decides to give it out, and Sullivan is left open for the mid-range. Now it'd be a 6-point game, and we would call a timeout with 3 minutes left in the first half. I call for the screen from Shepard and give it to him. He takes the mid-range shot and it misses. Hardaway was unable to get the rebound. Sullivan would bring up the ball, being guarded by Young. He'd drive right by Young and draw the foul on Hardaway. Hardaway did a good job of not letting him get the basket to go, and he already has 9 points on the game. Not too bad. That would make it 10 on the game, and Wallace would bring the ball up. Young would get the screen from Hardaway and hit the mid-range shot. We've been shooting 62% on the game, and that's pretty good for considering our team isn't the best roster. Then again, Illinois does not have a good roster either. I'd say our roster is a little bit better than theirs, as we have two big men who can score inside, and me who can take over a game. And off the bench isn't the worst. Gibson sometimes can do something. Young gets the insane lob. Hardaway pretty much does a 180. And especially seeing that from Hardaway, I just love seeing it. Sullivan finds Whale in the corner, but I believe his foot was on the line, but apparently not, and they give him a 3. I give it to Shepard, who fakes off the defender, Jennings, and hits the shot. He only has 6 points on the game. He has gone to the free throw line quite a bit, so that might be why. Sullivan goes into the post, and I go to try and help, but it doesn't really work, as Sullivan is way bigger and stronger than Young. I almost get my pass stolen, but ends up being fine. I give it to Shepard once again, who takes the shot over Jennings. Against Nebraska, yeah, I had 23 points, 21 assists. So, I'm coming off a pretty good game. Perry would have the ball and just try and drive by Hardaway. Hardaway stayed there and defended him pretty well without causing a foul, but Perry still hit his. Perry's a pretty good player. Give it to Hardaway, who decides to pass it out. I call for the screen from Hardaway and find him inside. He draws the foul on Perry and gets the and one. That's Perry's 3rd foul. I'd get subbed out for the rest of the half and it'd be a 1-point game. So Illinois has been staying in this game pretty well. I guess Sullivan actually is a decent player, after all. At first when I looked at him, he didn't seem to be that good, but he has 12 points and 3 assists. I have 16 points, 2 rebounds, 7 assists. And we have 4 blocks as a team, but they have 10 steals, so we've been turning the ball over quite a bit. Hardaway seems to be having not too much trouble with dealing with Perry. Now with Montgomery, it was a little bit difficult because he kind of took over that game. So it's a little bit of an easier matchup for Hardaway, facing Perry, who's still very good, but a similar build as him, so he knows how to guard. Brown gets the screen from Jennings and takes the shot. Hardaway got the rebound, and I'd be on the other end giving it to Young. He tried to drive by, but he decided to go with the mid-range instead. I'd get back in time to guard Whale once again. He hasn't really gotten too much to go, really. Brown would get the screen from Perry, and he'd give it to Jennings, who gets blocked by Shepherd. Now Jennings is pretty much almost a center with his height, but they put him at power forward normally because it gives them a height advantage at that position. Shepherd gets the ball and brings it up. I give it to Young as I was getting double teamed. I didn't see Young at first inside the paint, so I didn't pass it immediately, but then once I saw it, I gave it to him. I tried to reach in, and that'd be my second foul. My first one being a shooting foul on Trevor Sullivan. Will tried to cut inside, but I was able to defend it. Sullivan keeps trying to set screens on me, but they tend to fail. Perry once again scores on Hardaway, and he's hit all his shots so far. I call for the screen from Hardaway and give it right back to him. He draws the foul on Perry, which would be his 4th of the game. Hardaway would miss the first free throw, and it'd stay a 1-point game. He'd hit the second. We'd have a 2-point lead, which we haven't really gotten out too far in a lead, even though this team is not that good. Well, their starting lineup is really good, but their bench is terrible, so that's probably why we still have a lead. Shepherd takes it inside, and even though Sullivan was trying to block it, it's not too much of a threat for Shepherd. Will gives it to Perry in the post, and Hardaway did a pretty good job of guarding him as he forced him to lose his dribble. We forced Whale to also stop and force him to pass it out. Brown's forced to take a terrible shot, making it shot clock violation. Illinois actually, from including scrimmages, Northwestern, Ohio State, and Illinois are at the top. But that's not actual stats and stuff because they include all scrimmages for some reason because they keep messing it up, and the stat keepers are very stubborn with how they want to do it. They don't want to change anything. They want to keep it exactly how they're doing it. But I think there's going to be statisticians at the end of the year who are going to help. Shepherd's able to draw the fake, causes the defender to jump, and gets the layup. They immediately give it to Perry, who has been pretty well guarded by Hardaway. Sullivan takes a very contested mid-range shot, but Young is not that big, and he'd hit it. Chiozza would walk up to the scorer's table, getting ready to be subbed in. I draw the screen from Hardaway, and force Perry away, but he missed the shot. Perry got the, not Perry, but Shepard got the rebound and put it back in. Brown would get the screen from Sullivan, and Sullivan would drive in. He'd now be guarded by Sullivan off this. Sullivan would now be guarded by Wallace off the screen. And once again, Sullivan gets 2 more points in the post. I called for the screen from Shepard this time, and I drew Jennings way far away from Shepard, leaving him wide open. I can kind of use myself for trying to draw double teams and then giving it to my teammate off the screen. Typically the screen I like to use. I'm able to get back to contest Wales' 3-point shot, but he still hit it over me. I called for the screen from Shepard, and once again, he's left wide open, but he waited for Jennings to try and draw an and one, and he successfully gets it. They'd end up being forced to sub out Jennings, and they'd bring in Braxton. I try to reach in and get a steal on Sullivan, but once again a reach-in foul. They'd immediately try and give it into the post, but it'd be stolen by us, and Hardaway would no longer be in the game. I'd call for the screen from Young, and Whale would end up stripping the ball from me. Shepard would get back and get the block. I give it to Wallace, who gets inside and hits the layup with 2 defenders around him. I'd be guarding Braxton, as I am now the power forward. Seems like we like these looks, like having me at power forward, Shepard at center, as we don't really have a good center off the bench, and Kalamushi just isn't too skilled at anything really. I get the screen from Young and just take the mid-range shot, but that'd be my first miss, I believe, as Perry would get the rebound, and they'd find Braxton inside, but they'd miss. I give it to Young, who's guarded by Whale, who's way bigger. I get the screen from Shepard and give it right to him inside. He fakes it once, but it's unsuccessful, so he spins around and takes the layup. It seems we had quite a few people waiting at the scorer's table. Shepard would contest Perry's shot, and Wallace would steal a rebound from me. I'd find Shepard on the other end, who'd hit the shot over Perry. He has 22 points on the game, and he's been on a tear recently. I try to help, but it ends up being a foul on Shepard. Brown would go to the free throw line, and I believe our next games would be against Penn State, Ohio State, and Northwestern, but I don't know exactly whether they're actual games or if they're scrimmages, because I really don't know what these people are doing. I end up getting subbed out, and I wouldn't be back in the game until 1 minute into the 4th quarter with Hardaway at the free throw line. He missed the free throw, which didn't surprise me. It'd pretty much be the old starting lineup minus Pullen. We'll add Pullen into it, minus Wallace and Young now. Gibson would have the ball. I'd get the screen from Hardaway, and Hardaway is able to get Pullen open, but he misses it. Sullivan would bring the ball up and give it to Whale. Whale would give it to Jennings, and he misses the shot. We were able to contest him pretty well, as Hardaway was able to help at the last second. I drive in and try and dunk on Whale, but Ends up clanking off the rim. I'm able to stop Sullivan from driving inside as Gibson is also pretty small. No matter what, Sullivan has a mismatch as he's a pretty big guard and we don't have many. Perry misses the shot and Shepard gets the rebound this time. Once again, we're going with Hardaway at power forward for some reason. I call for the screen and get it from Shepard. Hardaway ends up getting left wide open in the paint and Shepard would get the rebound. No, Shepard would get the assist, not the rebound. I don't know how Hardaway's been doing, but I think he's been doing pretty good during this game. Jennings would have the ball and give it to Brown. He'd try and draw the screen from Sullivan. Sullivan would try once again, and this time it would be successful. They'd give it to Sullivan this time, and he'd miss it. Get his own rebound, but Hardaway gets the block. I get the screen from Hardaway and just immediately give it to him. He gets the ball stolen from him by Jennings, and Brown would bring up the ball. Perry would have the ball, and he'd be guarded by Shepard at this point for some reason, because we have it flip-flopped as Shepard at center and Hardaway at power forward for some reason. I called for the screen and give it to Hardaway. The paint was wide open, so he could just drive in and dunk it. We have a 6-point lead and still not as big as we wanted it, but their starting lineup is pretty good. And Sullivan once again gets open off the post. Seems like no one's big enough to guard him. As I try to pass it to Hardaway, but it gets stolen. I try to help defend Whale, but he ends up getting an easy slam, making it a 2-point lead for us. Hardaway gives the screen for Gibson and is able to get a pretty decent shot, but it's guarded well by Sullivan. I try to block Perry's shot, but it ends up being my 4th foul of the game. I get the rebound and I see Wallace all the way up the court. He actually hit the mid-range this time, and he has 4 points on the game. Only taking 2 shots though. Whale ends up getting left open from 3 by me, and it'd be a tie game. I find Hardaway wide open in the paint once again. It's kind of my goal at this point, get some pick and rolls going and pass it inside to the big man, and if that doesn't work, I might drive in off the pick and roll. Sullivan once again goes in the post, which would be a mismatch. Nobody's big enough to guard Trevor Sullivan. I give it to Shepard, who finds Hardaway inside. I didn't want to immediately give it to Hardaway because it could be another, they could have anticipated, so I gave it to Shepard, who drove in and got the assist. Shepard's able to contest Wales' shot, and that'd be another miss for Illinois. I give it to Hardaway on the other end, but he gets blocked by Jennings. Whale would drive in and Shepard would try and defend it, but it'd be a tie game. He has 31 points on the game. try to take a mid-range shot, but it misses, and I try to reach in, causing another foul. This is an important part in the game, so I don't really want to give up. I don't really want to foul once again, because then I'd be fouled out, and I can't make any difference in this game. Hardaway almost gets the steal, but Whale recovers. I'm able to block Whale, but Perry gets the ball and gets it inside to give Illinois a lead. I get the screen from Shepard, and he takes the shot inside, drawing a foul on Sullivan, but that's the first foul for him. Franklin Shepard has a double-double with about 23, 24 points and 11 rebounds. It'd be a tie game once again. I'm able to get a steal, and I take it myself, as it's not worth passing it behind me if I have a footstep lead in front of everyone. I'm able to block Whale's shot, and I did it pretty emphatically as well. I give it to Young, who gives us a 4-point lead. I have 18 points and 18 assists. Brown immediately gives it to Perry in the post, who takes the shot over Hardaway and misses. End up passing to the wrong person, thinking that he was somewhere else. I try to help Brown, but I leave Whale open. He misses the shot, and I try to help with Perry. I do, and he ends up missing the shot. Young ends up giving it to Shepard inside, and Perry ends up fouling out after that. Shepard would miss the first one at the free throw line and hit the second. He's not the best free throw shooter, so I didn't expect him to make too many. This is a big possession, because if we can get a stop, then we could pretty much just hold the ball for the rest of the game, and we'd have to hit free throws. They're forced to inbound it to Jennings, who used it to Whale. Whale ends up getting the shot even with my contestant. We call a timeout. They inbound it to me, and I decided it's not really worth doing anything myself. I call for the screen and give it to Hardaway. Once again, he's able to get the layup inside. Whale would bring up the ball, and I decided might as well try and reach in now. Whale ends up missing the shot, and we get the rebound. I gave it to Wallace in the corner. We'd have an 8-point lead at this point. They'd have to inbound it to someone, but they decided to give it to Whale. They set the screen and try and get him open. They lob it up to Sullivan to try and get some momentum. The lob was successful. I give it to Shepard, and Jennings would foul to pretty much start what would become just a bunch of fouling. Shepard hit the first one and hit the second as well. They decided to not call a timeout, and Whale would bring up the ball. Then they call a timeout once Whale crossed half court. They'd inbound in. We have an 8-point lead at this point. They inbound it right to Wales, and he's able to hit the three. Of course they would foul because they don't want us just wasting the time, as somehow I missed my free throw. I'm normally a good free throw shooter. For some reason I could really hear someone in the stands hiccuping for some reason. I don't know how, considering how loud the stadium was, but all I heard was someone hiccuping. Of course they would foul, and the game was pretty much over if I hit the free throws. I did get the first one, and I hit the second one this time. Brown would bring it up and give it to Braxton. Pretty much they had their bench unit in. Sadowski tried to take a three, but it missed. I just bring up the ball and wait for time to run out. We'd win 111 to 103. And Shepard had a pretty good game. I had a pretty good game normally. And I don't know about Hardaway. I didn't really know what he really had. But for them, Whale had 36. Sullivan had 22. Perry had 13. And nothing really else from anyone. And then for us, Shepard had 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 assists. Hardaway had 23 points and 4 rebounds, and I had 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 20 assists, with 6 turnovers, though. And I did have 4 blocks. Nothing really else here. Watanbe did have 8 off the bench. Choza, once again, unable to score anything. I really didn't know who we'd be playing next, but we'd have to perform.